Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's episode of Canal Days, what life was like in the industrial Connecticut River Valley. I'm your host Carrie, along with my co-host founder of Historical Tours of Greater Holyoke, Robert Comu. Our Canal Days series explores historic sites throughout Massachusetts with Robert's expertise and history of the history as your personal guide. Each episode we discover a new location with hidden history within. Today's episode will be exploring the Mount Carmel Cemetery located in Ware, Massachusetts. So, where is this cemetery found within Ware?
Yes, it's not very easy to find, so I'll give you the street names. Crescent Street, at its corner with Greenwich Road, is where it's found. It's a sharp divide between the two. So, right at that fork is where the gate entrance is. So, it's right up the middle of these two roads. Very strange place to put it. I've gone there 3 times, and I've always thought, what a weird place to put that. It's nowhere near its former church that it's part of, so that is much further away in the downtown section of Ware. So this is way out in the outskirts, more towards the western middle part of Ware, and Ware is a big place by the end. So we're going to talk as much as we possibly can about this cemetery, including some of its many properties, and then the pastor that's buried here, a very important person. And then who's this cemetery for by the end? It's a Catholic cemetery, but there's much more behind it than that.
And describe the features of the cemetery.
Okay, there are very many features of the cemetery. Include a baby section. It includes a bit of a potter's field. There's a priest circle, which here is only one priest, but it's up on a mound towards the right. We'll talk about that section. And there's a lot of old gravestones here because the cemetery was started probably in the year 1880, the year that the pastor came around and founded the church. He probably made this. So the older stones are towards the front entrance and the newer ones towards the back. The pastor's area is towards the front right, up on a slight incline. The baby section's towards the middle section, but they've added to it. It used to be the back of it. And by the end, it's a fairly flat cemetery laid out in what's called a lawn style. And it serves a certain group. We'll talk about that later.
Real quick before we continue with the rest of our interview, just to fill your listeners in, if you want to sign up for any of his tours, then you can check out his information on hoyocanaltour.org. And there you can find podcasts and videos of the sites along each of his tours. And for more information, you can email him directly at bobcat4214, capital B, at yahoo.com. And getting back to our interview, so who is John Thomas Sheenan?
He's the founder of the church associated with the cemetery. He was the first pastor of this church also. The name of the church is Notre Dame du Mont Carmel Church, and it's about 2 miles away, but he served there right from the beginning of the church in the cemetery. That is in 1880. He served up to 1935. That means he served 55 years at the same church. That's incredible. The only one ever older than that I've ever found was a pastor in Chicopee who served 56 years. So he's right up there among Catholic pastors of Western Massachusetts, which is wonderful because the amount of stability in that parish must have been wonderful. They were able to have a lot of organizations, a school, a Jean Baptiste Society, so forth and so on. And it was all due to him. And his grave's very easy to find. Go in the cemetery, take that right, a little bit of an incline, and there's a few bushes around. All right. And it has right on his stone, the inscription. The stone's embedded into the masonry. They made a masonry base for a crucifix to honor him. They put his years of birth and death, and he was ordained in 1875, and he became head pastor and founder 5 years later. That means that he was about 31 years old when he became the founder of a church. And in French, gives what he did. Arrivé pour l'apparition à la mémoire de J.T. Chien, curé de la paroisse de la Notre-Dame de Mont-Carmel, Ware. Now, he's an ethnic group Irish, but the church that he served was French Canadian. But he learned French when he was in college and in preschool up in Quebec province. So he knew French almost like a native speaker would know it. And he was quite well respected within the community. Now, besides this, on the base that honors him is a Pieta and then a scene of Jesus. And so you have Jesus, Mary, and then a couple of apostles probably alongside of him. And it's a wonderful scene. You have to go there, really appreciate how well done it is. And it's definitely a sign that he was well respected around the area. And there's also the crucifix on top of Jesus himself. Okay, and right in front of that area, they have a bush that's been cut down to make it look like a crucifix by itself. Now, in front of that too, they have another flat plate that honors Monsignor Sheehan. And he was a Monsignor, which is the highest rank that a pastor of a church could ever attain to. It's a symbol of high academic achievement, high level of being a spiritual leader of a community, and well respected. Now, the last thing to point out is that I noticed in the older pictures there were some trees in the back of it, but in newer pictures that are on Find a Grave, those are gone. So it's really well out in the open, and that's a very nice touch.
And what group of people are buried there?
Okay, now I've given you hints along the way. I've spoken the French language here. I talked about the pastor coming from Quebec and speaking French to the people. So, the ethnic groups that they serve are French Canadians. When you walk around the cemetery, all last names are French Canadian names. So this church, Notre-Dame de Mont-Carmel in Ware, Massachusetts, was for French Canadians, started up in 1880, which kind of matches when there were enough French Canadians around this area to get a nice church going. The church itself is absolutely gorgeous, and you should visit that definitely. But the cemetery also is very nice, and I invite you to go to Ware and see both of them. Most people, when they think of Ware, they think of the Quabbin Reservoir, and there's much more to it. This was a canal community with a lot of industrial mills in it, and that attracted people from Quebec very much so. So thank you for listening to this.
And thank you, Robert, for educating us on your tours and historical topics of expertise. And we want to thank our listeners for tuning in. And check out more podcasts on his website as well as on SoundCloud.com.